Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. And let's go. It is Ballsy Uncut, episode number 114. How you doing? A little nick on my head there. Oh, wait a second here. I'm trying to point out my head here. Banged my head on a corner of a cupboard yesterday at work at Crestview Chrysler. So if you're watching this, that's why I'm all nicked up there. The show's brought to you by a number of great sponsors. Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina. Go see Michael Barth and the gang. Tell them Ballsy sent you. Get yourself 10% off your tires and braking and mechanical needs. I just put new tires on, courtesy of Ward Tire Craft. Also want to thank District Brewing. They're getting on board once again for another year of sponsorship. Thanks to Tim and the gang. District Brewing, 8th Avenue in Regina. You can get all their great products at all participating Saskatchewan liquor stores. Also want to give a shout out to Boys Next Door Window Cleaning, Nathan and Landon. Getting in the window cleaning spirit once again, both inside and outside. The weather, well, it's snowing today in Regina. Call it white rain. It'll be gone soon. But if you need your windows cleaned here as we head into sustained good warm weather, give Boys Next Door Window Cleaning a call there. Okay, so we got a great show lined up here, and we will get right into it. Start by talking a little bit about what went on in the NHL yesterday. Jets are soaring. They're up 2 games to none on the St. Louis Blues. Been a tight 2 games, but Connor Hellebuyck, who's had a couple of down playoff runs the last couple of years, looking pretty good in net for the Winnipeg Jets. That series goes back to St. Louis. Oilers almost pulled off the unthinkable. Down 4-0, looked rusty, looked like they're guys who had been out for periods of time with injury, just couldn't get it together, and LA would run them right out of the rink at Crypto.com Arena. But the Oilers come back, score, make it like, what did they make it? They made it like 4-2, then it was 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, 5-5, and then they give up a kind of a goofy goal at the end and lose 6-5. Listen, these are professional athletes. And so I'm going to watch, I've never been an NHL player, goalie, defenseman, forward, whatever, coach, referee, but a couple of things. Stuart Skinner shows you who he is. He is an average goalie that can have spurts where he can be great, just like a backup quarterback, where he can win you 3, 4, 5 games. But to think he's going to win you a championship, I don't know, man. The Oilers feel like they got to score at least 4 goals to be safe every game. He should have stopped 3 pucks in that game. And some could say he outplayed the Kings goalie, Darcy Kemper, good Saskatoon boy, who outside of Hellebuyck, probably the best season for a netminder in the NHL this year. But I don't care. You got to make some saves. When McDavid and Draisaitl pull you out of the ditch, you got to keep it on the road, and he just didn't. And then Evan Bouchard. Guy has an elite shot. He's an elite passer. And yes, he played 27 minutes yesterday, or 28 minutes, but who cares when 16 of those you're serving up muffins and playing like a pylon in your own zone? Honestly, the Oilers have to seriously consider, are they going to give this guy $10 million next year? Are you going to give him $10 million next year? I wouldn't. I'd trade him and something else to get me a goalie. Get me a goalie. Put Stuart Skinner in as your backup. He's good for 20, 25 games. And if your bona fide starter gets hurt or can't go, then Skinner comes in. And that's no disrespect to Pickard, but you're already paying Skinner kind of backup money. So, I don't know. I don't see it. You got to stick with Skinner now. Although, Chris Knobloch, or is that his name? I want to call him Curtis Knobloch. Chris Knobloch. Curtis was the first second baseman, wasn't he, for the Twins, Yankees? Anyway, Chris Knobloch from Imperial, Saskatchewan, said that, today didn't give him the vote of confidence that he'd be starting. I don't know what that's all about, so who knows if he's in on Wednesday or is it Calvin Pickard. Anyway, we'll go to L.A. and talk with Gene Principe. I'm sure he's enjoying the sunshine there in Los Angeles on a day off or a day between games. They have the skate today and the media availability. So we'll talk to Gene Principe about all things Edmonton Oilers and the NHL. Ovi still great, 2 goals and a helper. The grade 8 helps the Capitals survive the Canadians. 3-2 in game 1 of their series. Leafs and Ottawa tonight. Ottawa looked outclassed by the Maple Leafs in game 1. Toronto's diving a little bit, got the favorable calls. Just like last night, the Oilers got jobbed by the referee. The puck hit the glass. I mean, Wallman should have skated that out of his own zone, but dude's playing in his first playoffs after being with lowly San Jose, so I'll cut him some slack. But that puck changed direction. In fact, if you look at it, it left a mark on the glass. Like, what the hell are these guys looking at? The linesman called it right. The referees fucked it up. And we're just like, oh, well, it's NHL reffing. I guess it's NHL playoff reffing. The NHL playoff reffing it's head shaking. At the very least, head shaking. Crazy. Same in that Montreal game. They missed some clear-cut penalties against the Capitals. Just want a little consistency. If you're going to suck for everybody. After firing head coach Dan Bylsma, the Seattle Kraken have promoted longtime GM Ron Francis, the president of hockey operations, with assistant Jason Botterill taking over day-to-day responsibilities. Bylsma is the 3rd coach fired in as many days after Anaheim moved on from Greg Cronin and the Rangers dismissed Peter Laviolette. I shudder to think if the Oilers don't get out of the first round, Knobloch, who I think is a pretty good coach and coach, has a history with McDavid and Jr., I think Knobloch could be gone because Bowman, that's not his guy. We'll see. I still think the Oilers go on a nice deep. I have the Oilers beating the Leafs in the Stanley Cup, to be truthful. I know I'm an Edmonton fan, but yeah, you never know now. Coaches are commodities that are changed as much as I changed my shorts, honest to God. Although it is coming up on May. Don't really too much short wearing. Underwear wearing from May to October. Too much information? Who cares? It's my podcast. The New York Islanders cutting ties with one of the longest-serving executives in the NHL. Islanders will not renew the contract of president and GM Lou Lamoriello. They announced that today. Lamoriello, who's 82, was hired by the Islanders in 2018 after 3 seasons with the Leafs. His team didn't make the playoffs this year. Couple of years in a row, they went to the 3rd round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the conference championship, but couldn't make it to the Stanley Cup, and like I said, missed the playoffs this year. I'm endeavoring to get this guy on the podcast. Canadian receiver Colton Hunchak has announced his retirement from the CFL. 27-year-old posted on his Instagram account, after 6 incredible seasons in the CFL, I'm officially hanging up the cleats. This journey started when I was 4 years old, falling in love with the game of football. By age 9, I was suiting up for the Mavericks Football Club in Calgary, and from that point on, football became my passion and my purpose. That love carried me through Notre Dame High School, York University, and on to the pro level. So he retires at the age of 27. More and more guys quitting early the game of football in general, but especially in the CFL, because you really got to love football. You're not getting rich playing in the CFL for sure, even though our version is the best game on turf. And we'll see how our game has guided the era of Stuart Johnston, the former CFL executive, starts on Thursday officially as he's introduced as the new commissioner. Chris Morris is going to join us this week, the president of the Edmonton Elks. Set to talk to him on Friday, so stay tuned for that one. We'll get into more sports shorts and a couple of other news-related items because I have people that say, hey, Ballsy, I miss you on the Wolf. I know you were a sports guy, but I miss you just talking about everyday stuff. So I'll throw in some other news here from time to time here on Ballsy Uncut. Time for a sponsor break. When we come back, Connor Klassen he started 6-man football in Big River, Saskatchewan, played with the Thunder, then moved on to the Rams last year, performed at the CFL Combine, and the big offensive lineman is eligible for the CFL Draft. We promote the stars of tomorrow today. It's our Focus on the Future segment coming up next here on Ballsy Uncut. All right, one of the guys eligible for the CFL draft as we talk 1 week away. You getting excited or what?
Yeah, it's finally coming up quick here. It's been a long month since combine, so gonna be happy on the 29th for sure.
How did the combine go for you?
It was pretty good overall. I think obviously when you have best on best, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some reps, but I think throughout the weekend, I showed a good effort and showed my skill set, and I felt that my interviews went well. So going over the combine, I think I did everything I could to kind of raise my stock.
How big are you?
Uh, about 6'3" and a bit, 310 right now. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Who'd you interview with?
So I met with 8 of the 9 teams. I didn't talk to Toronto, but I talked to everybody else. I talked to the riders a couple days after the combine, just so they wouldn't burn one of their interviews at the combine. But no, talked to everybody, and didn't really leave any of those interviews thinking like, oh, that's not a possibility. So pretty open still.
Yeah, awesome, man. You've been training. You were training in the lead up to the combine with Nick Daly, the former rider, and Dan Clark. How cool was that? What kind of words of wisdom and maybe refining your skill set did they help you with there?
Yeah, so just worked a lot with Dan there, and guy played in the CFL for a long time, and it was cool that him and Nick were putting on a camp for the university guys. Like usually, I think they have been doing more high school stuff, so really good opportunity for us. And the one thing that is talking with Dan is you gotta believe in yourself. Like he's talking like we're at this point in our career for a reason, and if we have to have that confidence, you can't go into the combine or a training camp and not be confident, or else you're not going to perform well. So reinforce just a lot of mental things, and once you get to these higher levels of football or any sports, the mental side is really could be a deciding factor for sure.
Connor, how much of a kind of pinch me moment was to be working with Dan Clark? I understand he came and talked to your school in Big River back in the day. And of course, the Thunder guy, you're a Thunder guy, and he had to scrape and claw and really carved out a really good football career with the Riders.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of been a full circle moment for me because my last year on the Thunder, I went to training camp with the Riders, and it was Dan's last year. So I got to meet him and kind of go through camp with him in his final year. So going through that, like you said, he talked to my school, and I was just a young kid, and then now getting to train with him, it's surreal, and like you said, that Thunder connection, I think we're all kind of cut from that same Saskatchewan kid, tough kid cloth, so just having a lot of similarities in the way we play, the way we think, and it was really cool, and he's a guy that, I have in my corner, and I know I can reach out to him if I ever need anything. So, it's awesome.
It's a long way from Big River, isn't it? Like just not only in terms of distance, like legitimate distance, but just figuratively from being a young guy playing 6-man to getting to on the precipice of being on a CFL roster.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, up north, it's more hockey predominant in terms of what sports, kids play, and the professional opportunities, and it is kind of weird being that outlier, and a lot of sacrifice put in to have to move this far away from friends, family, home, and it's nice that it's starting to pay off now, and hopefully I can hear my name called and just put that cherry on top.
So you'd probably get a question that I've got a vested interest, as you know. My son was in the process too.
Yep.
And the question he got is, are you okay with moving away from home? And he said, well, listen, I moved to North Dakota in a pandemic. My parents couldn't move me down. Then I had a chance to come back and play with the Rams and the Huskies, and I like both those programs, but I had originally committed to Calgary, so I was okay with moving away. So I guess the basic gist of it is he's okay to move. I would assume a guy that moved from where you moved from down here to play football in Regina, you're okay to move anywhere. And did you get that question?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Every team from the East and a lot of the West teams asked that question, and just what you said. I told them, like, I've already moved away from home. I'm used to being away from family, and just an opportunity of this magnet or this size. Like I can't can't eliminate options, because you just start thinking that way, and you might not get an option. So
Yeah.
I like you said, no problem moving anywhere for pro football.
Hey, Connor, do you have like you were with the Thunder, you're with the Rams. I think you got nicked up last year, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit. Am I right when I said that towards the end of the year? Am I right?
Yeah, like throughout the season, especially offensive line, you're gonna get banged up. Just in that final game, I hurt my shoulder, kind of hurt shoulder stinger up in the neck, and wasn't able to finish that game, unfortunately. But kind of fully recovered from that, and I took a little bit of rehab, but our shoulder's feeling good, and we're good to go.
No, and I wasn't questioning your durability. My question is though, my question is though, do you have years of eligibility left? Because
I got you.
No. You answered it right, but I'm trying to paint the picture here. I try to listen. You knock guys over. I try to paint pictures. Okay, so do you have any eligibility left?
Yeah, I got one more year left.
Okay, so here's the next question you probably got. If we draft you, Connor Klassen, are you prepared to take a practice roster spot? Did you get that question, and what was your answer to that?
Yeah, I did get that question, and for me, where I'm kind of at, I probably would take a PR spot right now. I think for me, if that offer is given, I must have impressed enough people or did something right in training camp. And you see a lot of guys, they go back to school and then they come back and they don't end up making the team. So I think it's a good opportunity to put yourself in a spot in the following year with a year of experience, with the team, the playbook, the speed of play, all that. So definitely would lean towards that. But again, if that isn't the case, we have a really good thing going with the Rams right now, really good offensive line room, and more than happy to come back. So really good option. I'll be playing football no matter what next year. So
boy, the Rams and the Huskies I think are set up real nice in that Can West Conference. Like I think that could be 1A 1B right there.
Yeah, it was a really fun playing them 3 times last year, and every game was back and forth. So hopefully it kind of lasts like that, and we don't get into a rut like we were in the previous past years. So good things coming forward for sure for Sask football.
How much did Brett Jones help on the offensive line and teaching you some things? I mean, here's a guy, he started late, high school, because of the Canadian ratio, which I'm a huge advocate of. He gets an opportunity because a team needs to fill out their roster. He shows he can play, given the opportunity, goes to the NFL, makes life-changing money, comes back, gives back to his alma mater, the Rams, not only with money, but helping out. How much did he help you out?
Quite a bit, on the physical skill side of things. Like you said, he's played at the highest level. He's done the highest level of things in that sense, and just learning the smaller techniques or different ways to change it up. And over the past 2.5 years, just trying to take all I can from him in that sense. But I think the biggest thing he's helped me with, especially coming from junior football, is just the mental side again. And I do really think the mental side is, huge, and especially for offensive line. You're going to line up against defensive linemen of all, shapes, sizes, speeds. And, for example, pass protection, you can't, pass set the exact same on every guy, or else you're going to, they're going to take advantage of that. So
yeah,
it's just kind of learning the mindset of, okay, maybe I have a smaller guy, or, he's bigger. What set can I use? What punch can I use? So just the way I guess see the game now, and kind of how I process, once we break the huddle, see the defensive front, and kind of go off that, that has been, I think, my biggest upgrade in learning from him. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to have that, expertise, and he's a really great guy to have on the Rams for sure.
Get a sense from any of the teams where they see you guard, like a guard, center, like where are they seeing you? Where do they see you fit in?
Yeah, for sure, gonna be moved inside, and had conversations. Like I've already started transitioning to guard, and they do want, if you're playing inside, you got to be able to play all 3. So definitely gonna be an inside guy, and just right now I'm transitioning to guard and trying to pick up center as I go. But center is a little bit trickier of a position to play, and so it'll come. But
Mhm.
yeah, fully prepared to be moved inside.
So I had him on earlier. He's a friend of the show, friend of mine, Logan Furland. Okay, here's a guy, another small town guy, and look at he's arguably the best offensive lineman in the CFL. In fact, I think he is just with his versatility. How much when you look at a guy like that, do you look up to a guy like that, just in terms of his ability on the fly in a game to go from the right side to the left side, from guard to tackle, sometimes even center? Like that is great. Like I don't think people don't appreciate the big man that much. I do.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that he can just do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it just really shows the skill level physically, like like you said, going from guard or center to tackle, it's such a different world. And you have so much more space to recover and worry about at tackle. So it's really impressive that he could do that. And it was cool to see, especially that game he started at tackle. Didn't think that would ever happen. But it just shows how much you need to understand the game, understand the position. And every spot on the O-line has a different job every play. So it's more than just knowing what your position is doing. You gotta understand the full play and understand where the running back's going, what hole he's hitting. The depth of the quarterback. There's just so many factors you got to key into. So it's really cool to see him do that. And I'm lucky again. My rookie year on the Thunder, he was in his last year there. So another guy that I've chatted with and learned from throughout my six and a half years of post-secondary football.
We'll get to the Thunder in a second, but I gotta like the Riders know what you're all about because you went to a training camp with them. So there's a little inside track there if they're looking to draft. Okay. But if I'm another guy picking a scout or GM or coach of another of the other 8 teams, like I got a kid that's been to a CFL training camp. I got a kid that is 6'3", 300 and some pounds. He's basically a building with feet. He has his own area code. So you can't teach. One thing you can't teach is size. And then the other thing is you're okay with moving away from home. So you're kind of grown up already. Do you see those as 3 big check marks like I just alluded to in the right side of the ledger for you when it comes to draft day?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I do think, I'm more physically mature to kind of step into a training camp and perform. And, that was a goal of mine to make teams make it aware that, I'm willing and excited to play anywhere. And then just, with my, like you said, going to training camp, I think it really, mentally, it's going to be a really big one up for me. I know what to expect, know what a training camp looks like. I've gone against that competition. I've seen an offensive playbook in the CFL already. So I do think I'm going to have a step up on some other guys in terms of, preparation and confidence. And so, every team's different. Every playbook will be different, everything like that. But, it's definitely something that has helped me, especially, going from junior to U Sports and now taking that next step for sure.
I've interviewed the likes of Riker Frank and Boschman from the Dinos and Finley, who is, from Western, the BC kid. Yeah. My son, obviously. So you've been to a training camp. Give those fellow football players that were with you at the combine, give them a piece of advice here. You're in a unique situation because you got a little appetizer, like you said. That is a very big one-up. What is the biggest thing when you go to a CFL training camp coming from U Sports or junior football?
I think one of the biggest things is, throughout the camp, playbook, install, it's going to keep moving. So you gotta be on top of it. You gotta take notes. You gotta study. Like when you get off your meetings, they're gonna install the next, play or coverage or whatever it is, no matter what. So if you're not learning that, they're gonna move on without you. You're gonna kind of be behind. So, and then to build off that, like, talk to the older guys. Like, I went there with another offensive lineman, Riley Schick from the Thunder, and we talked with, Dan Clark and Logan Furland every day and, picking their brain and trying to, see what we could do to, maybe pick up this, a play or, a pass protection that maybe we didn't know against the front. So just trying to absorb as much information in as short time as you can.
Yeah, so I listened to you. There's Connor Klassen, there's Logan Furland, there's Dan Clark, there's Riley Schick, just to name 4 guys, 4 studs that came from the Thunder program. sorry, pardon my language. What a fucking program! Like, talk about what the Thunder did for you. That program and to get you to where you are today, from 6-man football to Thunder to the Rams and now maybe the CFL.
Yeah, I think, for me, and well, a lot of us, like, we are from small towns or smaller schools or whatever. So, really grateful for, Scott McCauley taking a chance and having patience with us. Like, he was able to recognize for me, like, my size and my effort. And, I had no skill coming out of school. Like, I didn't play offensive line in high school. So it really was a brand new sport for me kind of coming down here. So, being able to, for junior to take guys that are not ready for U Sports and have that patience to kind of develop, it's huge because, like you said, there's a lot of guys that have moved on and there's a lot of guys that have had other opportunities that maybe didn't stick, but they still had that opportunity. So, it shows the level of football that junior is. And, the Thunder have had really good offensive line coaches for, the past 10, 15 years. So, I kind of owe my whole career to the Thunder in the sense that, they were willing to take a chance on me. And even though I had absolutely no skill or knowledge of 12-man football. So I think that's just a really good thing they do is they look for those diamonds in the rough.
Well, you got skill now, big boy, for sure. Hey, so when football's done, whether it's 10, 12 years, maybe 7 years, who knows,
Yep.
You are in education now with the goal of being a grade 7 and 8 teacher. Why the middle years? Why did you pick the middle years?
I think, it's a really impressionable year in those middle years. And I want to be like, I do a lot of coaching and, I like giving back. And I think it's a great career that, you can give back and be a good role model for kids. And just with grade 7, 8, I think, or those 6, 7, 8, 9, those middle years the kids are, they can work independently and they're, they have that independence, but they're not, grade 11, 12, and they got a lot of attitude. So yeah. I think it's a good balance of independence, but also, you can be a good role model for them.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Do you have a favorite middle years memory?
That's a good question. I think just coming to, because in Big River, we had a K to 6 school and a 7 to 12. So our middle years were technically high school. So I think, going to the high school and having, your different classes, you're not in the same class every time for us then. We'd start, skipping the odd day. So it was that, that independence and kind of felt we could do a little more that we wanted. So that was fun. And, I think that was about the time that I really started to love football too. So the sports aspect of, high school, middle years when you can actually start playing on those teams, I thought that was pretty cool too.
Hey Connor, who is your teacher, Klassen? Like, who is the guy or girl you looked up to, or man or woman you looked up to in those middle years, those impressionable years, like you said?
I had 2, and so one was my high school principal, Rick Croshaw. He taught some random classes too throughout, but he was my head coach for football. So had a good connection with him, and he's been a good supporter throughout my university career. And second, he taught me phys ed and health and all the kind of sciences and stuff throughout high school, Joey Caulfield. And again, he coached football as well. And so, it was nice to have him as a teacher and also a coach. And I still kind of check in with them, and they're always asking how I'm doing with football in school. So, they really helped me and kind of got that love for football going for me.
Okay, so I got to ask you, who is your, like, in your middle years, who are you snowball dancing with? You know what I mean? The snowball dance. I remember mine. Her name was Carrie Turchnick. Who was yours? Like, who was the snowball dance for you? Who did you dance with in the school dance there, man?
Honestly, and I was pretty shy and pretty
awkward. So was I, Connor. I was a freaking nerd, man. So no, come on, you gotta have a dance with one girl. Come on, bro.
I honestly don't think I did until older. It was sports, and I think I was too afraid to talk to girls. Honestly, I don't think I even did. I think when we had our dances, a bunch of the boys, we'd just stand in the corner and stand there all quiet and awkward.
That's right, right? Yeah, dude stood on one side, girls stood on the other side, and you might go to the canteen and maybe you'll kind of talk to them
Yeah.
when you meet at the canteen, right? That's funny. Hey, man, move here. What's behind you there? What's behind you on the wall?
It's just a stupid flag I got.
No weenies allowed. I love it, man. Hey,
Yeah.
you're a great story. You're exactly what's important about the CFL, the C in the CFL, Canadian kid. Good luck in the draft, man. I can't wait to see where your name gets called and where your football journey takes you, whether it's back with the Rams, but hopefully you're in a CFL camp and you're making a CFL team. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, great story there. Connor Klassen, offensive lineman for the Rams. I'm sure he'll get his name called. Riders already have an inside track. They had him at training camp. That is a big, big thing for him. He got to go as a junior to practice with the team and then go practice and play with the Thunder. That's a nice little development thing the CFL is going there. I like that about it. And yeah, the Riders already know what they get in Connor Klassen. I wouldn't be shocked if they take like an Ethan Vibert and a Connor Klassen. Can never have too many great Canadian offensive linemen. And man, that Thunder program, outstanding. Hilltops too, but like the Thunder with the linemen, Furlan, Clark, Schick, and this dude, Klassen. We're going to hear from Len Antonini, who's doing his part to build the stars of tomorrow today at Regina Minor Football, as tomorrow their spring league gets going, 17th season, I believe. And the thing with the spring league is you never know. You could have 20 degrees and then -1 and 0 in snow, which we got right now here in Regina. Tomorrow, I think it's supposed to be 7 or 8. So if you get a chance, go watch high school football at its best, Regina Spring League football at the RMF. Okay, my son was watching. He said, hey, your mic's not working, Dad. Listen, so here's the thing. Some people have asked me too, why isn't this always on Spotify? So I don't have, this is not, I'm not going to lie to you because I don't lie. This is not a self-sufficient podcast yet, meaning it's not bursting at the seams like a Joe Rogan or anything like that. So I'm not independently wealthy. I just can't sit in my home studio. I have to supplement this income. I have some great sponsors, like I talked about, like AGT Foods Canada, for instance. Thanks to Murad El Khatib, his wife, Michelle, and Murad's brother, Omar, for getting on board. The likes of Italian Star Deli and the guys who sponsored my Our Balls Are Bigger t-shirts. You can get yours too by DMing me at X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or texting me 306-526-7979. Richard just got your shirt out. Chris Strader in Cornack got your shirt. Chris Schrader, pardon me, in Cornack got your shirt out. James Hamilton picked up his shirt, just to name 3. You can get your shirt. The money, $25 for a shirt, going to ALS, the Love Life ALS Foundation, brought to you by Glenn Love, the former CFLer who's battling that terrible, debilitating, life-ending, in a lot of cases, disease. So I'm just trying to get my name out there, but trying to do it in a charitable way. Also, my old boss Daryl Holing in Red Deer bought one, so thank you. Once again, get a hold of me, X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, by DMing me or texting 306-526-7979. Where was I going with that? What the hell was I talking about? Oh my God, I just had an old man blank. Just an old man blank. Anyway, oh yeah. So people ask me, so I do have great sponsors. If you like the sponsor, I've sent some packages out. Some people are interested. I know Jason White over at Reflex Supplements in Northwest Regina wants to get on board. Our kids played sports together. Go check out their great product there on Rochdale in the new area. And a few others too. So Chris Cater, who owns an electric company, he's interested too. So we'll get the packages out there. But I have to go work full time at Crestview Chrysler, 601 Albert Street. Need a car, new or used? You or your family or friends come see me. I'll give you a ballsy of a deal. Like I said, if I'm coming to work for you guys, you have to let me give them the ballsy special deal. So come in and I'll get you the ballsy price. All right. 601 Albert Street, 306-526-7979. This is a long way. I'm taking a cab around my point, but here we go. So, or I'm taking a great car on a test drive from Crestview Chrysler around my point. But here's the point. I can't put this, I don't have it live all the time like it is right now. Like some of the interviews are live, some are pre-taped, but these segments, when I do it live, are live, like right now. Like when that interview was running with Klassen, I was upstairs. I had fixed my dishwasher today. I feel like such a man today. I fixed my dishwasher and saved myself some money. And so at least I hope it's saved, knock on wood, or fixed, so I save money, knock on wood. Anyway, I was up there just running some things through, making sure it's okay, and then came back down here for the next segment. I already know what I'm going to talk about. People are asking me, though, why isn't this always on Spotify? Because when I don't do it live, sometimes I tape it all, pre-tape it, and I put it through a couple of streams that I've got that I subscribe to so that I can get the product out to you because I'm at work. Like, I can't be selling a car at 10 in the morning on the Crestview lot, and this is running then, okay? Or at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So when those run pre-taped, then I haven't figured out a way to transform them into Spotify, Apple. So I think February or early March is the last time I've had some on Spotify. This will be on Spotify, but if you ever want to go back and watch, you can do it on X, you can do it on Facebook, or subscribe at YouTube at Ballsy Uncut, or go to Ballsy Uncut, ballsyuncut.ca, the website. It's there, and you get all the information, okay? All the information for you right there, all the links to all the shows. But this episode will be on Spotify. I apologize, though. My mic is now up and running, and yeah, hopefully you could make out what I was saying in the first segment. So The Rock was on Pat McAfee's show today on ESPN. The Rock, of course, involved with WWE and the board of directors. And he's on ESPN, which carries, I believe, some of the UFL games. I know Fox does most of them, but I think ESPN Plus picks up a couple of the UFL games, his United Football League, which he is a part of. He spent 40 minutes on with Pat McAfee, who's also a WWE broadcaster. I don't get the Pat McAfee appeal. I really don't. But hey, people like him, just like people don't get their appeal, people's like for me. So if I'm going to say it that way, I got to acknowledge it the other way. I don't get Pat McAfee, but a lot of people do. Don't particularly like him as a sports announcer. Don't particularly like him as a wrestling announcer. In fact, I think he's pretty shitty at that, over the top shitty. But anyway, Rock is on with him today for 40 minutes and doesn't talk about the UFL once. Not one time. And this whole year, he hasn't been a part of the promotion of the United Football League. And the attendance sucks, and the ratings are bad, and that sucker's dead within the end of this year. That sucker's dead. If it lasts one more year, it's because Fox has money to piss into the wind. But it's done. It's done. And remember when a couple of the well-known reporters on TSN, you know who I'm talking about. They claim to be big CFL Canadian football guys, big Canadian football guys. One guy lives in Ontario and one guy lives in BC. And remember when we came out of COVID, they said the CFL will not survive unless they merge with The Rock and his XFL and his XFL. And what happened? The XFL shit the bed again. What is it? XFL 3.0? And now Rock is merged with the UFL, and it sucks. And the CFL, despite its warts and blemishes, it is the league I love. I point out the bad things. I also acknowledge the good things. But that league is the longest tenured league in pro football for a reason. Don't mess with the rules. Don't change the rules. Don't fuck around with the game. The game is fine. Market the game. Promote the game. Love the game. Respect the C in the game. And enough of this America, America, America. Yes, we know the NFL is the greatest league in terms of all the bells and whistles and money. The CFL has the greatest game. The 3-down game in Canada, the greatest game on the planet. Let's start promoting it. Anyway, remember when those two guys, one who lives in the East and one who lives in BC, they were those big TSN reporters. Oh, we got to merge. We got to merge. That's the only way we can survive. And it was more the guy in the East than the guy in the West. But Nobody called them out except for this guy. Once again, that's why this is Ballsy Uncut. And I guess once again, this is why I'm on my own now, selling cars and sitting in my home studio doing what I do. But honestly, to be quite honest, I'd rather be comfortable being the same every day. Being the same every day, calling it like I see it. And I hope you guys can recognize that too and continue with your support visually and audio-wise, word of mouth, wearing my shirts, wanting my shirts, and sponsoring. That's how we keep things like this going. I hear a lot of times, oh, you're a breath of fresh air. Well, in order to keep this breath of fresh air going, I'm going to need your help. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. All right. Going to take a break. When we come back, Gene Principe live from, well, not live. I taped it right after he went to the media availability. And truth be told, he is sitting by the pool working on his Gene Principe tan. Edmonton Oilers broadcaster next. Gene Principe, as we talk, I'm not joking. There's snow outside in my backyard, and you're sitting in LA rubbing it in. So congratulations.
This would be long distance rubbing it in. You're right. My wife always says to me, she goes, okay, I get it. You're in California or Florida, but do you have to come home with a tan? And I said, yes. Part of it is available time, and the other part is being Italian, and the combination leads to this.
Yeah, I love the shirt you're wearing too, man. Hey, it looked like a gloomy, snowy type of game for the Oilers for 2 periods, and then all HE double hockey sticks break loose. What are you thinking as you're behind the glass watching that thing go down?
Well, I was all over the place. You know, Michael, you've been there before where you're preparing for the post-game interviews. So I have to cross the Oilers hallway to get to the Kings hallway. So I stopped in the Oilers hallway, and they made it 5-3. And I'm a superstitious guy, and so I stood there. They made it 5-4. And then I stood there, and they made it 5-5. McDavid, my gosh, what a goal, what a moment, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the LA one. And then I made a mistake. For anyone who's not superstitious, I left that spot. I went back to the studio, and guess what happened next? The LA Kings scored to win it 6-5 in overtime. So it was madness. It was thrilling. It was, I guess, in a couple of words, it was playoff hockey.
Yeah, man, was it playoff hockey for sure. I mean, I guess you got to look at the bright side. You're a bright side guy. So give me some positives, and there'll be obvious ones. Give me some positives for the Oilers going into this next game, even though they start slow, come all the way back, and then lose in heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, I'm always a glass half full, not a glass half empty. Even though you're looking at the same thing, you can take 2 different approaches to it. Resiliency, I think in a situation like that, being down so late that you're kind of like, all right, let's get through this and get set for game 2. Figuring out Darcy Kemper. Darcy's a good Saskatoon boy from Saskatchewan, Stanley Cup winner, and one of the nicest guys you'll meet. But if you're Edmonton, you got to figure out how to beat him if you're going to get a chance to beat the LA Kings. I loved the fact that even though they scored a couple of power play goals, I loved the 2-minute kill, 5-on-3. That was their last kill against the Kings power play. So I would use that to my advantage. And Connor McDavid, I mean, wow. And I know, like you said, some are obvious. I mean, that's obvious, but for me to not mention him, I feel like I'd need a shower, or at least to jump in the pool in front of me to wash off. I mean, that was, you've seen it before, Michael, many times. It was such a virtuoso performance, and it was unbelievable, but it does get buried a bit because Edmonton, unfortunately didn't win. But wow, Connor McDavid, unbelievable.
So you and I have lived through the great years with the Edmonton Oilers. We're talking winning here, okay? And so McDavid is Gretzky, and I really always believed Draisaitl is Messier, and we saw a little Messier-esque on the bench there from Draisaitl. He got him going pretty good.
Buddy, I love that. And what I loved about that shot was not only could you see Leon, but you could see Connor. And that, to me, epitomizes what you just said, right? Wayne would would be Connor and Leon would be Mark in that setting. Not to say that Connor isn't vocal. We saw that in the Stanley Cup final and in that documentary. So I don't want to make it seem like he's a wallflower, far from it. But in that moment, I think Connor's going, okay, Leon's got this. And he's feeling the way he's feeling. Let's let him be Leon. And leaders got to lead, and they do it in many ways. Boom. Next thing you know, Connor, Leon, we got a hockey game. It's 4-1 to end the second period. So I love that. Like, I've always been a fan of that. When I played sports, when I coach sports, that I want people to express themselves. At the pro level, it is different than if you're playing, community league soccer or beer league hockey. I mean, I get it. They're different levels, but I want people to be who they are. And I love something that Leon said earlier this year when he hit 50 goals. He said, I love my teammates. They let me be who I am. And the inference there is that maybe he can be challenging. Maybe it can be difficult. But that's what the role of a leader and a superstar player is. You can't just let people do what they want to do. Sometimes you got to point out that this isn't going well. Let's get going. And I love that. I thought it was fabulous.
Okay, so, I've kind of tried in the 80s Oilers here. Grant Fuhr, when the Oilers decided they didn't want to play defense in those runs, he would always bail them out.
Yeah.
Stuart Skinner makes some big saves, but I feel he needs to make one or two more to bail his team out. You're a guy that's half full. How do you feel about Stuart Skinner?
Well, last night, that was the most, weird goal. At first I was like, where did that go? And then, it was one of those you could almost go, oh, there it goes. But unfortunately, Stuart, Warren Fogle, the former Oiler, did a wonderful job. I'm not sure he would have won the high jump competition or the leaping there. He was so up high that he screened Stuart, and it went off Stuart's shoulder and in. And you're right, like if it's up like this, it goes off the shoulder and to the side. So, and Connor McDavid said as much today, but between games 1 and 2, like sometimes it's not how many saves a goalie makes, it's the ones that we have to get. And that was one with 42 seconds left that they had to get. They didn't get it, but that doesn't mean that Stuart can't provide that next game or the game after that. So it is tough. Listen, when you allow 6 goals as a group defensively, there were a couple there, Michael, I think you would agree. The Kings were wide open in front, and the captain alluded to that. So it'd be interesting to see. The coach wouldn't confirm that Stuart Skinner is the starter for game 2, so I'm not sure what that means, and I would suggest that that's publicly. He didn't confirm it. We would know Wednesday morning. Maybe he's already told Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. I would just guess that Stuart would get another game, but I don't know.
It's kind of weird that he wouldn't confirm it, though. Like, I know there's one thing with gamesmanship with will Kane or Klingberg be back, but when you're talking about the goalie who just played, that's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Chris is caught between new and old. I remember Craig McTavish, God love him. I'll never forget 2006 when the Oilers beat the Anaheim Ducks, and I was getting ready to do a live hit on Sportsnet, and Craig comes over and goes, do you have a second? I'm like, yeah. He comes up, he gives me a hug, and he goes, we did it. And I was like 10 feet tall. I was like, I didn't do anything, but boy, did I ever feel like I did something after the coach of what was then the Stanley Cup finalist comes up to you. But that is, I think, like where you are, community feels like the same thing as the sports team. I think Edmonton is like that as well. And Chris is usually pretty straightforward in kind of who's in and who's out, if he knows. So I'm not sure what's behind that, if anything, whether they already know Stuart and Calvin, or whether, let's put it this way. If they'd won 3-1, we're not asking Stuart Skinner starting. We're not even asking that question. But because it was a 6-5 loss, the question gets asked. We wait for the answer. If they'll give it not only to us, but I guess, in the class, maybe you don't want the LA Kings to know this far in advance who might be your netminder.
So, Gene, I'll keep you just for one more minute. I'll let you have this done. I can't remember off the top of my head a more maddening player to watch than Evan Bouchard. Like, as a fan, like I'm an Oilers fan, you're covering the team, okay? And I know you got to watch what you say, I get it. But I'm like, I'm watching the game with my son Ethan. We are literally, I'm like, we got to trade this guy for a goalie because I'm mad at both of the guys. And then I'm like, Ethan's like, well, Dad, Skinner played probably better than Darcy Kemper. He made bigger saves. And I said, okay, Ethan, I'll give you that. But this guy's a turnover machine, this Bouchard. And then I see him shoot it, I see him pass it, and I look at the stat line at the end. He's +1. In your time covering this team and being around this team, can you think of a guy who's been more like maybe maddening to the fans, where he's like really good, but then holy cow, like you talk about, like he served the muffin up right in front of the net for a goal. It's like, what are you doing, Evan?
I know people love to talk about Evan, and I'm always caught, Michael, because I get to know these young men. And
Yeah.
Evan's a wonderful young kid. Like I really like him, and he cares. And yeah, he doesn't. He's got kind of like that demeanor that is people would like to sometimes see, not so much Leon-esque, but more of an up and down from him. But that's just really not. Who he is. He's calm, cool, and collected outside. Inside, hard to tell what exactly is going on. And at one end of the ice, you're like, oh my gosh, look at this. And sometimes the other end of the ice, you're like, oh my gosh, look at this. But, I would say this about Evan Bouchard. I would rather have him, on my team. He gives the Oilers an offensive upside that is hard to find in the National Hockey League, and he can be a wonderful passer out of his own zone, getting the puck to Leon, Connor, and others. So I get it. Like, I understand it. He's kind of the people push. There's an Evan Bouchard button that people like to push that gets them going because they see something defensively, and before their rage is gone, he's done something offensively, and they're like, oh, okay, so. It's like kids. One of them cooks dinner but doesn't clean up their room, and one of them cleans up the room but doesn't cook dinner. So you got to make sure you find the right pairing so that they can do both. But I think Evan has proven that he is a top-notch defenseman. And, I got to say, last year in the playoffs, he was really good defensively. I remember one miscue in the Vancouver series, and that's the only one. I mean, there's going to be mistakes, right? But one that you kind of stood out. So we see it was the first game, team together for a first time with injuries, back in the lineup. A little rusty, a little cold in the first 40 minutes, but boy, what we saw in the third makes me believe and look forward to game 2 quite heavily. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it too. Last question for you, quick one here. What's it? I've never been to a game. I've been to LA, but never to a game, the LA Kings game. What's it like? Do you feel like you're in a hockey environment there?
It's really neat, Michael, because you go. Saturday was the Lakers. Sunday was an off day, and now the Clippers play in another arena, so they're not here. Then Monday night it's the Oilers. Tuesday night it's the Lakers. Wednesday night it's the Oilers and Kings. It's a really neat atmosphere. Now, we'll say this about LA. Obviously, won a couple of Stanley Cups, 10 plus years ago in the last 15 years, and. Sure. When you leave, is it oil country and you got 30,000 fans between inside Rogers Place and outside? No, but there is a good vibe, and inside the arena, that horn is really loud, and the fans are dialed in. I was talking to a couple of fans today, and they were saying they were able to get club seats for $200 US. And club seats, to me, I didn't follow up, but to me that means lower bowl. So tickets are available, and they are not what you might have to pay in Canada. But I wouldn't downplay saying that, like the non-traditional hockey market. I think by now, LA's been around a long time, and a guy named Wayne Gretzky helped them become a traditional hockey market. The only difference, people go to work in shorts and flip-flops and sandals as opposed to suits, or at least if you do go with a suit to the rink, it's not long after that you're back into your shorts and t-shirts. So it's a different environment, a different climate. You talked about the snow where you are, but the fans are hardy, but it's not quite like Canada, and just like we might not be like them, I don't know, in football or baseball or basketball, right? Different countries have their certain flavors for sports. We know what ours are, and the U.S. has theirs as well.
The best rink host right here, Gene Principe. Thanks for your time, man. Enjoy the off day or kind of off day in LA, and hopefully the Oilers can pull one out on Wednesday.
Thanks, Michael. Take care, buddy.
Len Antonini with Regina Minor Football. Thanks for joining me. How many years for you now with RMF?
You know what? I think this might be my 31st year. I think with being on the board and stuff. I've been involved since I was 8 years old, so
wow,
it's a lot longer.
Did you ever imagine it would get to this point? Like, it's a very successful organization.
Yeah, no, I never thought that it'd be this as good as it is, but it's it's with the way the community is, and the support I've had from a lot of the people in the community, the business people in the community. I've survived quite good. We've done quite good.
Is that your granddaughter behind you?
Yeah, it's Lenny.
Hi, Lenny.
Oh, she
just wants to be grandpa's support. What keeps you? You don't have kids playing anymore in it. What keeps you coming back year after year? Like, listen, you're a firefighter, accomplished firefighter. You're retired. Does this give you kind of a sense of purpose? Maybe I'm answering your question.
Yeah, no, I like it, Ballsy. I enjoy every aspect of football. It doesn't matter if it's a CFL or NFL or college football or NCAA or I just enjoy watching football and doing things with it, and the people in football. Look at the guys you meet. The different things. I do some work with TSN and stuff, and so it's just it's my passion, I guess.
Yeah. So I saw you had a video the night you took a video of the night that they were doing the draft at the beautiful facility there for the spring league. I was like, gee, that used to be me back in the day. Have you seen guys roll through there? Hey. Oh
yeah, you think of all the kids, and a lot of guys that end up going places. Like your guy went to North Dakota. There's not a whole bunch of NCAA guys, but Div 1. But we've got tons of people, tons of players, tons of coaches. It's been a blast. That's one of the funnest things too of the spring league is the draft. We have a real laugh with it and have some fun.
Yeah. So how does a draft work? Like, I know how a draft works. I've sat in it, but do you have like certain rules? Like how does that work?
So what happens is they draw out of a hat the order. Then the first team gets to select a position. So they could say quarterback. This year it was linebackers. Mm-hmm. So then the team number 1 selects a linebacker. The team number 2, team 3, team 4, they all select one linebacker. That's the end of round 1. Mm-hmm. Then the second team, they selected quarterbacks. So they select a quarterback. Team 3 selected team 4, and then team 1 selected a quarterback. And then you go around and snake it. As you do the picks, you just go in the regular order, but then we go snake it back and forth so that team 4 gets 2 picks. They go 4 and 5, so they get they could pick a position. But you always pick a position, and then everybody picks that a player from that position until you have a certain number. Like I think this year the number was 31. We determined that there were, we could put 7 receivers on every team and 7 defensive backs, 5 O linemen. The O lineman is the big one, where you don't have a ton of O linemen, but we had a good crop of O linemen this year. We're getting better all the time, but that's one that kind of determines. 5 O linemen is a minimum, and then they try to find maybe another young O lineman or a guy from defense that they can move to O line. So, it's a pretty cool draft, and then they draft 44 players. So 4 players really become the sort of like practice roster.
Practice roster, yeah.
Well, sort of. It's not a determined 4. It's whoever, if guys have a good week, or if guys don't show up, or if guys are, being pricks, or whatever. Then you could sit 4 guys. And basically they just don't get the RMF 12 on 12 off rule applied to them.
Yeah.
They,
So
yeah.
you got what, 4 teams? So there's what, about 100, just under 180 kids playing?
Yeah, we got about, I think we said about 178 kids. So yeah, it's and kids get cut, but it's, we started this to help us pick the U18 team for Team Saskatchewan. When I was coaching it, so that's basically why why we did it, and it gives the kids 6 weeks of really good football before you go to U18 tryouts and go to the U18 Canada Cup, which is
Hey, you're a generous guy. You're a generous guy. You give back to the community. You help with, you're like a dog on a bone when it comes to selling tickets, okay, for raising money. But you were a selfish prick when it came to this. Like you set this RMF Spring League up to help yourself out. Tell us about that story, because that's a neat story, and it's really evolved into a great idea.
Yeah, I was coaching Team Saskatchewan, and we weren't having a very good opportunity to look at the kids, and not that I don't know if we were missing kids, but we didn't get a good look. So now they get a great look at. They can watch Spring League games are awesome. There's tape of it and everything. So they like doing that, and it helped. The other thing too is that it made our U18 program better, because the guys got to play. They got to play 4 high school football games, just before they go play the Canada Cup, which is a hard tournament, Ballsy. It's a week you play 3 games in a week against Quebec, Ontario, those type of things. And it's funny, in the last 14 years, our U18 program we've won 5 gold medals and 2 silvers for a small province. And the only other 2 provinces to win gold are Ontario and Quebec.
Wow.
So you look at that, and I think it's made our U18 program better, and it's made football in Saskatchewan better.
Oh, for sure it has. So how's the health of the game? Like, I know flag football is kind of, it's been the talk, but I like both. I like both versions of the sport. But I had my kid playing RMF at a really young level. I love what you guys are doing. How you changed that to introduce kids in a safe way. But how's the health of the tackle football in Regina, the numbers, that type of thing?
Our numbers are pretty good. Like, our registration is open right now for the fall season. May 15th is the deadline, and we're on pace for another 1,100 kids, 1,200 kids playing this year. So and the Spring League was right up there, with registration. Our U16 program's going right now too. So we have a Team South. We play 2 games against the Team North, and then they make a Team Saskatchewan for that too. Again, it's a program that helps our U16 Team Saskatchewan. So no, I think it's good. The concussion thing and all those types of stuff. The concussion thing is kind of it's funny. I think we're doing a pretty good job. If someone has a concussion, they're done. Like it's and my belief is I think kids have different levels of capacity for concussions. When I was I played hockey in the SJHL, and I remember watching fights where guys would take punches that should knock them out, and they'd be fine, and then the next guy would get a little brush on the cheek, and he'd have a concussion. So I think the health of the game's pretty good. We just got 150 helmets from the Saskatchewan Rough Riders Foundation, and they're looking. I think everybody's looking after what we should be looking after.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you that as it relates to the Rough Riders. In the past, it used to be where the Rough Riders were good, and that kind of got people interested. If the Rough Riders were going through a stretch, people wouldn't really be, they're kind of down on football, even like signing their kids up. Did you find last year, like they went through 2 bad years, they had a decent year last year? Do you find that kind of helps your numbers still that way?
I think it will. It's funny because in 2013, 2014, when they were rocking, those were 2 of our best years. 2023 and 24, we had to buy a bunch of helmets, because helmets we can use them for 10 years. Yeah. And then their certification is done. So we had to buy a bunch of helmets, and it's based on how many kids you have. So that's why we have a May 15th registration every year, because if we have to buy helmets or buy things, we got to find some money for it, and that type of thing. Basically, that's what I'm doing with minor football too right now. I'm trying to get out of it. I got a couple people helping me now, And I want to just do the fundraising.
Yeah.
Do the 50-50, have some fun with the 50-50, and our 50-50, we sold over $200,000 worth of 50-50s at game days and our mega 50-50 last year. So it's a pretty good fundraiser for us.
Is that only sold at games, or can you do it online? Can you buy tickets online too?
The game days, you can buy them online. You can buy game day online only on the day of the game. And our mega 50-50 you can buy online anytime. So there's two different types. But our game day 50-50, the best we had ever done before was, I think, 48,000. We did 127,000. But I sold every game, and I hired some people to help me sell. I had Rick Jr., Deke's dad, helping me, and Mim, his wife. They were wonderful salespeople. And so we had a blast in the stands. We had a lot of fun, bugging people into buying tickets and having fun with us.
Okay, so lastly, if I'm a parent that's on the fence about registering my kid for Regina Minor Football, why should I sign my kid up to go play Regina Minor Football? I know why, but I want you to tell people.
I'll tell you why, Ballsy. Tackle football is a game of discipline, relationships, and commitment. When you take a look at the game of football, you have to be disciplined. You got to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and do what you're supposed to do when you get there. And you have to have good relationships. You got to all work together. And if you all work together, and you're disciplined, and you sacrifice, and you show up for practices and everything, then you work together. You become better football players. And then when you take a look at life, that's the way life is. You have to be disciplined. You got to go to work. You got to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and do what you're supposed to do when you get there. In life, you got to have good relationships. You got to get along with your wife and kids and your neighbors and the people you go to work with and people you go to school with. So, it teaches them to do that. And, and in life, it's, you got to be committed to stuff. And it's funny because, we built Libo Field, and it cost us $10 million. And, it's worth $15.5 million now. And the funny thing about it is we didn't use any of the kids' money. There's a lot of guys, I'd walk into their office and just talk to them. And, I had donations ranging from, $20 right up to $1 million. So it's a crazy thing. And I think that kind of tells you about what football does in the community. And in the 30 years that I've been here, Ballsy, I've never had anybody come back to me and say football was bad for my kid.
Yeah.
I've never had anybody come back and complain. I've never had anybody come back and say that he got concussed and it ruined his life or anything. And but I've had people come back to me over and over and over again saying that football was outstanding for my son, helped him get through life, helped him learn about the different the important things like discipline and relationships.
And affordable too, Len. Like affordable fun. Like at the like what would it cost now? I forget what it cost. What would it cost now?
It's anywhere from $375 to $450 for 3 months of football. But the helmet and shoulder pads are included. You can get practice pants. Matter of fact, our practice pants and girdle, you get them in Mighty Mites. You get a pair now, and they usually last the kids 3 or 4 years before they have to buy another pair. Yeah. So it's that's the one thing about it. It's very affordable, and it's affordable because we do the 50-50, and we do fundraising every year. And not only do we fundraise for the facility and everything, but we fundraise so that kids get a great game day experience. We have an announcer, we have music, we have a video display board. We live stream every game now. We show replays of touchdowns. So, a kid scores a touchdown, he can look up and see the big screen from the old Mosaic Stadium and watch himself score a touchdown. That's pretty special for a minor football program.
I would never have been on that scoreboard, but I get a chance to call some games once in a while, so it's fun, man. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for all you do. And once again, if you need more information, you got all the Facebook page, the website where they can go, right?
www.reginaminorfootball.ca. Registration deadline for the fall is on May 15th, so it's important to get in there before. We do take registration right till August, but it's I can't guarantee you a spot on a team in your area of town. So,
and we got the spring league games firing up this week, though, right? So you can
Wednesdays are Wednesday's our first game, I think it's 5:30 and 7:30. It's great football. It's some of the best high school football there is in the province. So
Yeah, can't wait
yeah,
to watch,
come on.
man. Thanks for your time.
Okay.
Bring your wallet because he'll call you a cheap bugger if you don't buy a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for your
Yeah.
time, man. All right, thanks to Len Antonini, the Executive Director of Regina Minor Football, Connor Klassen, and Gene Principe. Here's the shirts I was talking about if you haven't seen them yet. Go like this. The Our Balls Are Bigger Ballsy Uncut t-shirts. Now, Ballsy Uncut's the podcast you're watching and listening to right now. But coming up, starting in the preseason, we have got the Ballsy Uncut Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show with myself, Kyrie Zaber from the Montreal Alouettes, Cincinnati Bengals fame, and Ryan Hall. We are going to do the show each and every week, and we're adding phone call components. Now, we did video calls, and you could nix your camera because people are shy. But people had trouble figuring that out. So I did figure out a way for you to call in. So, and a lot of people remember me, not so much from the 2 years that I did the play-by-play from the Rough Riders, although that was fun. I did 18 years as a call-in show, pre- and post-game show host, and the sidelines. People say, oh, it's not the same anymore since you left. The guys doing call-in shows now, they just don't have it. Well, you don't have to listen to them. You can listen to me. I know how to pronounce all the town names correctly because I'm from here. And a lot of contacts in the league. You want the information? You want the information with personality and calls it like he sees it. No pandering to people. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. It's right here on Ballsy Uncut and the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. I wanted to talk about this before I'm done. So have you heard about the Shannon Sharpe thing? The former Broncos tight end, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ, now media personality. I think the guy's a bozo. I've never liked the guy. Now, I didn't like him initially because I'm a Chargers fan. I don't like him. He's an acquired taste, but once again, you could say I am an acquired taste. And I do presume people are innocent before they're automatically deemed guilty. I still am old school that way, I guess. And as a guy who's been on the other side of some ridiculous stories and rumors and stupidity, I can sympathize with people in the spotlight. I would not say I'm in the spotlight like Shannon Sharpe, thankfully, this way, but just in general, he is in a different plane. But people do know me, okay? So I can sympathize with him. Now, on one hand, his attorney, Lanny Davis, has launched an aggressive defense of Hall of Fame tight end and media personality Shannon Sharpe. On the other hand, Davis has confirmed that Sharpe has made a significant financial offer to a plaintiff, who they say is Jane Doe. Davis repeatedly said today in a conference call that Sharpe offered tens of millions of dollars to settle the case before the lawsuit was launched on Sunday. After several requests for clarification, the lawyer Davis revised his position to say that it was at least $10 million that Sharpe had offered Jane Doe. Now, in Doe's lawsuit, she alleged Sharpe raped her multiple times in late 2024 and early 2025. She's a 19 to 20-year-old, apparently, and Sharpe made a post defending himself already, and basically, well, not basically, he said she's an OnlyFans. She's from OnlyFans. Okay, wait a minute. You are in your 50s, dude, or late 40s, and you are hooking up with a 19 or 20-year-old after you just signed a $100 million contract and are a well-known celebrity, and you hook up with somebody on OnlyFans. You're dumber than I thought. You're a bigger bozo than I thought. You maybe have CTE. You are the idiot of the day. I'm sorry. So apparently, according to Jane Doe, and he called her Gabby or something from OnlyFans. He said it, not me. But she says Sharpe raped her multiple times in late 2024 and early 25 after she attempted to end their nearly 2-year-long relationship following cheating allegations. Oh, shocker. He can't put his pecker in his pants. Allegedly. Once again, innocent until proven guilty. Now, it is hard. You have to admit, unless you chew crayons, meaning if you're logical, it's hard to reconcile the aggressive claim that the allegations are fabricated. Sharp said that. It's hard to reconcile that with the admission from his lawyer that he offered at least $10 million to settle the case. Davis and Sharp have launched a robust defense in the court of public opinion. Okay, they're out now. They're saying he's going to prove these things wrong. He also used the race card once again. I don't care if you're black, green, blue, red, orange, white, yellow. I don't care. If you're that age with that much money and you hook up with somebody that's that age with no money who's trying to get a step up and she's an OnlyFans participant, or what would I call her? OnlyFans artist? I don't even know what to call her. It doesn't matter if you're black, red, blue, green, white, yellow. You're an idiot. It has nothing to do with race. So automatically, I hope you are guilty and you get your ass fired. Didn't ESPN fire Michael Irvin for a lot less? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this isn't the first time Shannon Sharp's been called on the carpet. Guy is an idiot. You got to ask yourself, like I said, unless you're a complete bozo like Shannon Sharp, why would a guy who's innocent want to settle out of court for $10 million and then come out and say he's innocent? He's dumb. Just dumb. That's our idiot of the day. Hey, if you missed this show, you can check it out on X, Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, or go to ballsyuncut.ca. All the links to all the shows are there. It will be on Spotify or Apple, this one, in a little bit. And you can DM me or text me 306-526-7979. You want to buy a card, Crestview Chrysler, that's the number to text. That's my day job. This is my passion right here, though. Talking sports, promoting local athletes, promoting the underserved Canadian football athlete. But I'll talk about all athletes, man. Men and women, boys and girls. The R balls are bigger. Sure, $25. The money goes to the Love Life ALS Foundation, started up by Glenn Love, the former Alouette, Grey Cup winning player with Stampeders, a member of the Riders. I think he played for 5 teams or was a part of 5 CFL teams. He has ALS and is battling it, and I've had him on the show before. You can go back in the archives and check it out. I want to raise money for him. I'm going to put these shirts out anyway, so I'm going to raise money for him. And when this first batch is done, and we're about a third of the way through, we will get him the money. Thanks for your time. Talk to you soon. Gonna watch some Stanley Cup playoff action now. How about you? Go Sens go.